everyone, welcome to this sprint session of PD in your PJs. I'm Angela and I'm passing it over to Julie Jacobs, who is a high school English language arts teacher but also does tech integration. So she's got some awesome slides that she is going to share with us today. She's only got 10 minutes, so I know she's timing herself because she kept adding all sorts of awesome ideas to her presentation. So Julie, take it away.
Hi there. Can everybody see my screen? Are we good?
We're good, we're good.
Okay, awesome. Hi, everybody. I'm talking to you from a tiny town in the middle of Kansas. I'm a seesaw enthusiast for all the reasons you see on the screen. I teach big kids, and I think a lot about the fact that most of the work they do on paper ends up in a trash can. It gets minimal attention from parents, if any at all, and probably few opportunities for peer feedback. So I love Seesaw because it gives us the opportunity for that authentic audience, authentic feedback, and it's preserved forever so that they can go back and monitor their own progress. So that's why I'm so excited about Seesaw, and I use it K-12 in the district I'm in, but I teach 12th graders for half a day, and they use it every single day. So it's for big kids too. You're going to see ideas across grade levels and contents in this presentation, and it's your challenge to just think of other ways that you would use these ideas, regardless of what age or grade or subject you teach. I just want to talk about some different things I do with vocabulary. So some of these examples are ELA because that's what I teach, 12th grade ELA. This is like a younger kids type of activity, but this is something that is a really nice worksheet or graphic organizer alternative because you can see this is just a really familiar Frayer vocab model, but instead of doing it on a worksheet or a chart, I have students do it in Seesaw. I want you to know that the table you're seeing here is just a screenshot of something I made in Google Docs. And Google Docs is a really easy and familiar tool for me, so I make a lot of tables in Google Docs, and you'll see those throughout this presentation. If you want a how-to video of exactly how I make these kind of things, here's the video. This is the link. If you want this image, minus all the pictures and the words. If you want the blank, it's here for you. If you want it, you can use this chart. The key is anything you put in Seesaw that you want students to be writing on top of or adding pictures on top of, you want it as a JPEG, not as a PDF. So this is just a picture, like click screenshot of something I made in Google Docs. And then I can add it to my students' Seesaw, or they can take it from their camera roll. So you want JPEGs of things like this. So I favor Google Docs. In this video, it explains how to do it, but I'll tell you a couple of the secrets are to orient it landscape and not portrait, and to use tables. It kind of makes a nice format when you insert a table in a Google Doc because you can make it multiple columns or rows. So take a look at this. This is just a vocabulary word. Here's the illustration, which of course you could do with a pen in Seesaw, but I used emojis here. And then, examples, non-examples. And then once you have this part complete and you've green check mark in Seesaw, don't forget you can still add voice. A student can explain, they can draw on top of it. Then with the pen, they can use the pointer. So many options. So this is a worksheet. It's going in the trash can. There's no voice. You're not hearing the student explaining their thinking, and parents are probably never seeing it, especially for big kids. So I love this type of thing, and you're going to see several examples of stuff like that in the presentation tonight. Another awesome thing I like to do with vocabulary words is to use emojis to define them. Again, when you're looking at any vocab model like Frayer or even Marzano, they're always talking about students needing pictorial representations of words. So don't be afraid to ask them to use emojis to define words. This is big kids. This is like a 12th grade vocabulary list. My friend Monica, who's in another part of Kansas, she uses emojis for story elements. So I included a screen grab of a tweet that she tweeted a few months ago because I thought that was a really interesting idea too for emojis. But I love emoji vocab for big kids. I usually give kids a choice. They don't always do emoji vocab. They can choose some other things. But a lot of students really do like this. They are early adopters of emojis, and they know how to use them a lot better than me even. So they come up with some really cool emoji definitions. But here's what this might look like for a younger kid. Maybe it's not vocabulary. Maybe it's spelling lists. I know my own kids are in second grade. They're twins, and their teachers have them handwrite or type their spelling words every week. So this is actually my son's spelling list a few weeks ago. So you can see he had the instruction to go ahead and type his words 3 times, and then where he could think of emojis, he added those. Why I think this is so funny is because notice for problems, he had 2 plus 2, 10 plus 10, 9 plus 9, but then in the middle of all that is a snake chasing him, I guess. So we just had a good laugh over that because that is a huge problem, I suppose. Remember that once kids have typed their spelling words, they can, again, read them out loud using the microphone. So, and he typed, but he could also handwrite. So lots of great options there for adding handwriting, typing, and voice and drawing if you have time to do that in the blank space. So If you're going to draw, you're going to do that on a draw screen with labels. Type your words in labels and then draw. You wouldn't draw here in a note, but lots of options that Seesaw gives you for all of those different things. A really great way to differentiate. Something else we do a lot of is vocab snaps. I do teach big kids who are allowed to use phones and Snapchat, and if you want to see more examples of the Snapchat version of this, go here. But you can do a vocab snap just all in Seesaw. You don't have to have Bitmojis or Snapchat to do it, especially if you teach younger kids. A vocab snap would just be a picture with a definition and a word, maybe an example sentence. The challenge for a kid is coming up with the right picture, writing the example sentence, typing all that on top of the picture maybe. I like this idea of using a properly attributed photo rather than just grabbing one off the internet. Have kids use something like Photos for Class to find something that is appropriate, has appropriate citation. So there's more information here about how to do that, but these are really cool. It helps it stick in a kid's mind. Still a lot more engaging than a worksheet, and it's preserved, unlike a worksheet that probably goes to the trash. Related to vocab snaps, of course, is book snaps. And Tara Martin is the gal you want to find on Twitter and on her blog if you want to learn more about book snaps. We do those with Snapchat as well with big kids, but I love these examples because these are from some 5th and 6th grade students. Thanks to some of my colleagues here, you can see their Twitter handles at the bottom. They're really rocking it with book snaps with some younger kids. And you can tell from the screenshots, this is all Seesaw. You can tell this is the look of Seesaw labels, okay? And what they're doing, Miss Calcaterra and Mrs. Peterson, that's so cool, is they're giving their kids some prompts or some themes for their daily book snaps. So I really like how you see that, a prediction snap or a snap to make a connection or something new that they learned. So these are really neat. A book snap is a really great way to share what you're reading with your classmates. My high school students are doing these too, and we just love it. And I love seeing a little bit more about their self-selected reading. Because in a high school classroom, when you have kids choosing their own books, you just don't know what their daily reading is about or what it's like or how they're connecting with it. Or you'd have to have a lot of things in place to really be checking that every single day. So just for my own interest, I love to know more about what they're reading and how they're liking it and how they're connecting with it. So we've been doing book snaps. No grade attached, just, something that connects to their self-selected reading. And it's been really transformative in our culture and our classroom as far as our community of readers. So find Tara Martin on Twitter to learn a lot more about book snaps. Here's another thing too, and this is a reference again to Google Docs. You want to orient these all landscape and not portrait. That for me just makes the most sense logically, the way Seesaw is going to be oriented on the devices that my students use. Okay, so we're like one-to-one iPads, and our iPads are minis. They're iPad minis, K-12. And so for me, I've just kind of discovered over the last few months that I can kind of picture it in my brain the exact right size that a Google document needs to be. I use tables. You can see here like 3 columns and 2 rows here, and this is just 3 columns. So I make these tables in Google Docs, and then I just take a screenshot on my iPad, and that's the image or the JPEG file that I put in Seesaw. Here's the how-to video again. You saw the link earlier in the presentation, but that's the link again. If you want to know exactly how I do it, my step-by-step video is right there at that link. So what these are actually my lit circle roll sheets. For lack of a better word, they're roll sheets, like things that I used to do in the olden days on paper. And I've totally modified these to be Seesaw compatible. So if you want them, the files are here. Take them, they're yours. Okay, I have lots of different roles for Lit Circle participants. If you're familiar with how Lit Circle works, that will make sense to you. And you can get all these image files if you want by going here. Okay, so this is an example of someone who was, I think, the literary luminary in their Lit Circle, and this is a connector. And this is how we're doing it and sharing it all in Seesaw. Here's another example. I literally just thought of it today, so I added this slide in at the last minute. We're reading chapter 1 of the novella, The Metamorphosis, and I wanted my students to take some notes, but I wanted to see those in real time, so Seesaw seemed like a logical place for them to do that. So I just made this really quick in Poplet. You can see it looks like a Poplet, but I left all the little things blank here, the popples, and then I just put it in their Seesaw, they copied and edited it, and look at how awesome my student Emma was doing. So I had to take a screen grab of her work because she was even finding ways to use the blank spaces here by adding some drawing and some extra text labels, but she's filling in all the spots here about Gregor in chapter 1 of the novella The Metamorphosis. So I thought that was pretty cool. But something else to think about, I teach big kids, of course, so they can do this. I just let them make their own sometimes. Like, it's not about me always making a Poplet or a graphic organizer using Google Docs. I just tell them to take the notes in a meaningful way to them. And I think these are really cool because this student on this one day took her notes in the form of a Venn diagram, even though she wasn't asked to do that. And this is not a worksheet I had to make for her. She did this on a blank screen in Seesaw. And then this student divided her notes into kind of a grid like that. I thought that was a really cool idea. You know, anytime you let students make a choice, that's just really increasing their motivation and their engagement. And here's a couple other examples where students have made their own choices. This is a sketch note. Again, blank slate. You can write or draw whatever you want. This is a sketch note from a video active viewing strategy. You know, so they're sketchnoting while watching in my class. And then this student used the pen, you can see, to make these columns, but then is also using labels, including emojis for this note taking here. So I love letting them make choices. They're more motivated, and you know, you increase the depth of knowledge of a task when you let them make choices as well. This is one of my favorite examples too, and I know we're running long on time, so I'll get through this fast. Sixth grade teacher said, I need to do this activity with our kindergarten buddies. Look at what it is. It's a photocopied old worksheet. How could we make it not a worksheet? And so that's sort of how I first stumbled into this idea of making something in the Google Doc, like I've described multiple times in this webinar. Here's the video again. So making it in a Google Doc with tables, and look at the difference between this old worksheet and then this, where kids can type in, they can handwrite, and they can type, and they can add emojis as labels. And why I like this too is that students got to create their own problem rather than just the problem that's assigned to them on this worksheet. And they could create their own problem, and look how they made it relevant to them. This kid had a character in his problem that was a family member, and this kid got to include his interest, which is baseball. So that's really cool. Something else I do is just take old worksheets and convert them to these tables in Google Docs because they're so compatible with Seesaw, and you can type right on them. So again, this is just a Google Doc, and then students have typed in the answers as labels. And here, I had tweeted this image a few weeks ago. Here's just different ways my big kids are using labels. We've talked about all of them in the presentation tonight. Sketchnoting, book snaps, just their general note-taking, and then even taking something that I would have assigned as a worksheet and completing that in Seesaw, adding the labels. So just lots of ways. If you want to see other things my kids are doing, here's ways to find me and my stuff online. Otherwise, I'll be around for questions if you have any. And just lots of cool things to do now that there are labels in Seesaw. Find me on Twitter because I share a lot of those every day.
Yay, Julie. Thank you. Thank you. Always awesome ideas coming from you. So if you have questions for Julie, just tweet her and she will get right back to you. But thanks everyone for coming today. I hope you have some fresh ideas that you can use in your classroom tomorrow.
Bye.